The flight attendant slipped me a note that said I had to get off the plane immediately. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely read it. But I looked up at her, saw the fear in her eyes, and I knew something was terribly wrong. Before we continue, please comment below, as I'd love to hear your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel to help us hit that big 1,000 subscriber milestone. 2 hours earlier, I was rushing through the airport like my life depended on it, which, looking back, maybe it did. My phone kept buzzing in my pocket. Text after text from my sister Keisha. Mama had another episode last night. The doctor said she was stable now. But I needed to get home to Atlanta. I needed to see her with my own eyes. I'm a travel nurse. Been doing it for 8 years now. I'm used to being on planes every other week. Houston, Phoenix, Seattle. Wherever they need somebody who knows their way around an ICU. But this flight felt different from the moment I boarded. Something in the air felt heavy. Wrong. I found my seat. 14C, middle seat in the emergency exit row. I hate middle seats. Always have. But I booked this flight last minute after Keisha called me at 3 a.m. crying. Mama's heart was giving her trouble again. The church ladies were already organizing a prayer chain. When Black mamas get sick, the whole community feels it. I settled into my seat and pulled out my phone. One last text to Keisha before we took off. Boarding now, tell Mama I'm coming, tell her to hold on. The man in 14B sat down next to me. White guy, business suit, couldn't have been older than 40. He kept checking his watch. Every 30 seconds. Check, check, check. His leg was bouncing like he'd had 6 cups of coffee. I'm a nurse. I notice these things. Anxiety, nervousness, or something worse. First time flying? I asked him, trying to be friendly. He barely looked at me. No. That was it. Just no. Then he went back to checking his watch. Across the aisle in 14D there was another man. This one had dark hair slicked back. Expensive leather jacket. He wasn't nervous like the businessman next to me. He was still. Too still. The kind of still that makes you think a person is listening to everything around them even when they're pretending not to. The flight attendants were doing their safety demonstration. The businessman next to me wasn't watching. He was staring at the overhead bin above us. Just staring at it like he was trying to see through it. I felt my phone buzz again. Keisha. Mama's asking for you. Hurry. My heart squeezed. Mama raised me and Keisha by herself after Daddy passed when I was 12. Worked 2 jobs to keep us fed. Made sure we went to church every Sunday. Made sure we got our education. Everything I am, I owe to that woman. And now she was in a hospital bed asking for me. The plane started backing away from the gate. That's when I saw her. The flight attendant. Young woman. Pretty. Dark hair pulled back in a tight bun. She was walking down the aisle checking overhead bins. But she wasn't really checking them. She was watching people. Her eyes were sharp, moving from face to face like she was looking for something. She stopped at our row, looked up at the bin above us. Then she looked at me. Really looked at me, like she was trying to memorize my face. Ma'am, she said quietly. Is this your seat? Yes, I said. 14C. Why? She didn't answer right away, just stood there looking at me. Then she glanced at the businessman next to me, at the man across the aisle. Her jaw tightened. I'll be right back, she said. But that wasn't even the worst part. What happened next made my blood run cold. She walked to the back of the plane, disappeared into the galley. 2 minutes later, she came back down the aisle. This time she was carrying a tray of drinks. She stopped at row 13, handed out drinks, smiled at passengers, playing her part. Then she got to our row. She leaned over to hand the businessman next to me a napkin. That's when she dropped something in my lap. A small, folded piece of paper. I looked up at her. She put one finger to her lips. Be quiet. Then she mouthed 2 words. "Read it." My hands were shaking when I unfolded the note. The handwriting was rushed, messy, like someone had written it in a hurry. "You are in danger. Fake an illness. Demand to get off this plane. Do it now. Trust me." I read it 3 times. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. This had to be a joke, some kind of prank. But when I looked up at the flight attendant, she wasn't smiling. She wasn't joking. She was terrified. The businessman next to me was watching me. I could feel his eyes on the side of my face. I folded the note quickly, stuffed it in my pocket, tried to act normal. But my mind was racing. Why would someone warn me? What danger? I looked around the cabin. Everything looked normal. People settling in, reading magazines, putting on headphones, just another Tuesday afternoon flight. But then I saw it. The man across the aisle. The one in the leather jacket. He was watching me too. And when our eyes met, he didn't look away. He just stared. Cold. Calculating. I felt sick. Really sick. Not fake sick. The kind of sick that comes from pure fear. The plane was taxiing now, moving toward the runway. If I was going to do something, I had to do it now. But what if this was crazy? What if I made a scene for nothing? I'd look like a fool. They might even arrest me for disrupting a flight. But then I thought about Mama, about Keisha, about never seeing them again if something happened to me on this plane. I pressed the call button above my head. The flight attendant who gave me the note came immediately, like she'd been waiting for it. "Yes, ma'am," she said, loud enough for others to hear. I took a deep breath. "I don't feel well. My chest is tight. I'm having trouble breathing." It wasn't entirely a lie. My chest really was tight. Fear will do that to you. The businessman next to me shifted in his seat. The man across the aisle sat up straighter. "I need to get off this plane," I said, louder now. "I think I'm having a panic attack. I need to get off right now." The flight attendant's face showed concern, but I could see relief in her eyes. "Of course, ma'am. Let me notify the captain." She grabbed the phone, spoke in low tones. The plane kept moving. We were getting closer to the runway. "Ma'am?" the businessman next to me said. His voice was tight, angry. "We're about to take off. Can't you just sit down?" "I can't breathe," I said. And that was true. I really couldn't breathe. "I need to get off this plane." Other passengers were looking now, some concerned, some annoyed. An older black woman 3 rows up caught my eye. She gave me a small nod, like she understood, like she was telling me to trust my gut. The plane stopped moving. The captain's voice came over the intercom. "Folks, we're going to need to return to the gate. We have a medical situation. We apologize for the delay." The businessman next to me cursed under his breath. The man in the leather jacket across the aisle pulled out his phone, started typing furiously. The plane turned around, started heading back to the terminal. It felt like the longest 5 minutes of my life. The businessman kept checking his watch. The man in the leather jacket kept typing on his phone, and the flight attendant stood at the front of our section, watching them, watching me. We finally reached the gate. The door opened. A paramedic team was waiting. But behind them, I saw something else. Men in dark suits. Federal agents. They weren't here for a medical emergency. They were here for something much bigger. The federal agents pushed past the paramedics like they weren't even there. 6 of them, all wearing bulletproof vests, all with their hands near their weapons. And every single one of them was looking at our row. At me. At the businessman. At the man in the leather jacket. The lead agent was a tall black man. Salt and pepper hair. Hard eyes that had seen too much. He stepped onto the plane and his voice cut through the cabin like a knife. "Nobody move. This is a federal operation." The entire plane went silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Passengers started pulling out their phones. Recording. The older black woman who had nodded at me earlier grabbed her purse tight against her chest. She knew. When federal agents show up like this, something bad was about to go down. The flight attendant who gave me the note walked straight up to the lead agent. "Marshal Cole," she said. "They're in seats 14B and 14D. The device is in the overhead bin directly above 14C. My stomach dropped. Device. She said device. Marshal Cole looked at me. "Ma'am, I need you to stand up slowly and walk toward me. Don't touch anything. Don't look back. Just walk." I couldn't feel my legs, but I stood up anyway. The businessman next to me grabbed my wrist. Hard, his fingers digging into my skin. "Sit down," he hissed. That's when everything exploded into action. 3 agents rushed our row. They yanked the businessman away from me. Slammed him face first into the seat. His arms were behind his back in seconds, handcuffs clicking. "Derek Stone," Marshal Cole said. "You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit an act of terrorism." The man in the leather jacket tried to run, tried to push past the agents and get to the back of the plane. He didn't make it 3 steps. 2 agents tackled him to the ground. Passengers screamed. The man fought back, cursing, shouting in a language I didn't recognize. I stumbled into the aisle. My legs were shaking so bad I thought I was going to fall, but the flight attendant caught me, steadied me. "You're okay," she whispered. "You did the right thing. You saved everyone on this plane." "I don't understand," I said. My voice was barely working. "What's happening?" "I'll explain everything. But first, we need to get you off this plane." She led me down the aisle, past the other passengers who were staring at me like I was some kind of hero. Or maybe like I was crazy. I couldn't tell the difference anymore. The older black woman reached out and squeezed my hand as I passed. "God was watching over you, baby," she said. "He surely was." I wanted to believe her, but I was too scared to feel anything close to relief. We got off the plane, into the jetway. That's when my legs finally gave out. I sat down hard on the floor. My whole body was shaking. The flight attendant sat down next to me. "My name is Mara Thompson," she said. "I'm not really a flight attendant. I'm an undercover federal agent." I stared at her. "What?" "We've been tracking Derek Stone and his cell for 6 months. We knew they were planning something. We just didn't know what, or when, or where." She took a breath. "Until yesterday." "Yesterday," I repeated. My brain was trying to catch up, but everything felt like it was moving too fast. We intercepted communications about a device being planted on a flight. This flight. We knew the target was seat 14C, but we didn't know who was sitting in it until you boarded. Mara looked at me. Really looked at me. "You weren't supposed to be on this plane." "What do you mean?" The original passenger in seat 14C was a federal whistleblower named Thomas Ellis. He was supposed to testify next week about government corruption. Some very powerful people wanted him dead. They hired Stone's extremist cell to make it look like an accident. A tragic mid-air explosion. No survivors. No evidence. My hands went to my mouth. "Oh my God." But Ellis canceled his flight at the last minute, changed his travel plans, and when he canceled, the airline automatically reassigned his seat. To you. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. So they were going to kill me instead? Because I happened to book the same seat? You were collateral damage. They didn't care who was sitting there. They just needed someone in that seat when the device activated. Mara's voice was hard, angry. "These people are monsters." I thought about Mama, about how close I came to never seeing her again, about how Keisha would have gotten a phone call saying I died in a plane crash, about how our church family would have mourned me, about how Mama would have buried both her husband and her daughter. But I didn't cry. Not yet. Black women learn early that sometimes you have to hold it together when everything inside you is breaking. You cry later, in private, when nobody's watching. How did you know to warn me? I asked. When Ellis canceled, we knew the device was still active, still on the plane. We couldn't cancel the flight without tipping off Stone's cell. They would have just tried again on another day, another plane, more innocent people. Mara stood up, helped me to my feet. So we decided to let the flight proceed, but we had to get you off that plane before it took off, before the device activated. When was it supposed to activate? 10 minutes after takeoff. At cruising altitude, maximum casualties. No chance of emergency landing. She paused. You would have been vaporized instantly, along with everyone else on board. I felt sick again. Really sick this time. But that wasn't even the worst part, Mara said. Her face was grim. What I'm about to tell you is going to make you question everything. Back on the plane, I could hear the agent shouting. More passengers were being escorted off. Marshal Cole appeared in the jetway. He was carrying something, a small metal case, black, unmarked. Is that it? Mara asked. Yeah. Bomb squad is examining it now. Sophisticated piece of work. Remote detonation. Impossible to detect with standard screening. He looked at me. You're one lucky woman. Lucky? I almost laughed. I was almost blown up because I booked the wrong seat. You're lucky because you trusted your instincts. Most people wouldn't have. Most people would have ignored that note, thought it was a prank, stayed in their seat. Marshal Cole's voice softened. Your mother raised you right, taught you to trust your gut. The mention of Mama made my chest tight. I need to call my sister. I need to let her know I'm okay. In a minute. First, we need to debrief you. We need to understand everything you saw, everyone you interacted with. Marshal Cole gestured toward a door. There's a private room this way. We walked through the terminal. People were staring. Some had their phones out, recording. I probably looked like a mess, hair wild, eyes red, still wearing my scrubs from the hospital shift I'd just finished in Dallas before rushing to the airport. The private room was small, plain, a table, 4 chairs, a mirror on the wall that I knew was one-way glass. They sat me down, got me water, started asking questions. Did Derek Stone say anything to you on the plane? No. Just told me it wasn't his first time flying. Did you notice anyone else acting suspicious? The man in the leather jacket, Julian something. He was watching me, really watching me. Julian Cross. He's the one who planted the device. He boarded early, before most passengers, had plenty of time. Marshal Cole was taking notes. Anyone else? I thought hard, tried to remember. There was a woman, blonde, sitting in first class. She kept looking back at our row, like she was checking on something. Mara and Marshal Cole exchanged a look. Nina Volkov, 3rd member of the cell. We arrested her too. How many people were involved? I asked. That's what we're trying to figure out. These cells operate in small groups, usually 3 to 5 people, but they have financial backers. People in high places who fund their operations. Why? I asked. Why would anyone do this? Marshal Cole leaned back in his chair. Because Thomas Ellis was about to expose a conspiracy that goes all the way to the top. Senators, judges, corporate executives, people who have been stealing taxpayer money for years. Ellis had evidence, documents, recordings, and they needed him silenced. So they tried to blow up a whole plane just to kill one man? They've done worse, trust me. I sat there trying to process everything. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Keisha. She'd been calling and texting nonstop. I pulled it out. 12 missed calls, 23 texts. The last one said, "Where are you? Mama's asking for you. Please call me." I really need to call my sister, I said. My voice cracked. My mama's in the hospital. She's waiting for me. Mara put her hand on my shoulder. Make your call. We can finish this later. I stepped out into the hallway, dialed Keisha. She picked up on the first ring. Vivian! Oh my God, where have you been? I've been calling you for an hour. I'm okay. I'm still in Dallas. There was a situation on the plane. What kind of situation? Are you hurt? No, I'm fine. I'll explain everything later. How's Mama? Keisha's voice changed, got quieter, heavier. Viv, the doctors say we need to come say goodbye. Her heart is failing. They don't think she has much time. The world stopped. Everything I'd just been through, the note, the terror, the federal agents, none of it mattered anymore. Nothing mattered except getting to Atlanta, getting to Mama. I'm getting on the next flight, I said. Tell her I'm coming. Tell her to hold on. Tell her I love her. Hurry, Viv. Please hurry. I hung up, walked back into the room. Mara and Marshall Cole looked at me. They could see it on my face. Something had changed. I have to go, I said. My mother is dying. I need to get to Atlanta right now. We can arrange that, Marshall Cole said. Give us 30 minutes. We'll get you on a flight. Private security escort. You'll be there before sunset. Thank you, I whispered. But as I sat there waiting, something Mara had said earlier kept echoing in my mind. What I'm about to tell you is going to make you question everything. She never finished that sentence. Never told me what she meant. And something about the way she and Marshall Cole kept looking at each other made me think there was more to this story. Something they weren't telling me. Something bigger. Something that had nothing to do with a random seat assignment or a canceled flight. Something that involved me specifically. And I was about to find out what. They got me on a private plane. Just me, 2 federal agents, and a pilot who didn't ask questions. We were in the air 20 minutes after I made that phone call to Keisha. The agent sat in the back. Gave me space. Let me sit alone with my thoughts. But I couldn't stop thinking about what Mara had almost said. What she'd held back. The way Marshall Cole had cut her off with a look. Like they had agreed not to tell me something. Not yet. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. Ms. Hayes? It was Mara's voice. I need to tell you something. Something Cole didn't want me to say. But you deserve to know before you get to Atlanta. My heart started racing again. What is it? Your mother, Gloria Hayes. Does she have any history with government work? Any connection to federal agencies or corporate investigations? I frowned. No. Mama worked at the post office for 30 years. Then she retired. That's it. That's what her official records say. But we found something when we were investigating the conspiracy. Your mother's name came up in connection with Thomas Ellis. That's impossible. My mother doesn't know any Thomas Ellis. She does. She just never told you about it. Mara paused. 23 years ago, your mother worked as a clerk in a federal building in Atlanta. She had access to financial records, procurement documents, government contracts, and she noticed something. Millions of dollars going missing, being funneled to fake companies. She started making copies, gathering evidence. I couldn't breathe. No, that's not... Mama never worked for the government. She did. Before the post office. Before your father died. She was going to blow the whistle, report everything she'd found. But then something happened. Mara's voice got quieter. Your father had a car accident. A single vehicle collision on a dark road. The investigation ruled it an accident. But your mother knew better. She knew they killed him to silence her. Tears were streaming down my face. You're lying. I'm not. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Mara was crying too. I could hear it in her voice. Your mother went into hiding, changed jobs, buried the evidence, spent the next 20 years keeping her head down, protecting you and your sister. But she never destroyed that evidence. She kept it. And 5 months ago, she gave it to Thomas Ellis, told him to finish what she started. Everything made sense now. The way Mama always got nervous when police cars drove past. The way she never talked about Daddy's death. The way she moved us to a different neighborhood right after his funeral. The way she always told us to be careful, to watch our backs, to trust our instincts. She wasn't just being protective. She was keeping us safe from people who had already murdered once. They didn't put you in that seat by accident, Mara said. When Ellis canceled his flight, they knew he was being protected. So they looked for another target, another way to send a message. And they found Gloria Hayes' daughter. You. They wanted your mother to know that no one in her family was safe, that even after all these years, they could still reach her. Why didn't you tell me this before? I was sobbing now, full body sobs that made it hard to talk. Because Cole wanted to confirm it first, wanted to make sure we weren't wrong. But we're not wrong, Vivian. Your mother is a hero. She risked everything to try to expose these people. And now Thomas Ellis is using her evidence to bring them all down. Every senator, every judge, every executive who stole from American taxpayers. Your mother's courage is going to change everything. But it cost her everything too, I whispered. It cost her daddy. It cost her 20 years of living in fear. And now it's costing her life. I know, and I'm sorry. But you need to know the truth before you see her. You need to know that none of this was random. You survived today because you're Gloria Hayes' daughter. Because she taught you to be strong, to trust your gut, to fight even when you're terrified. The plane started its descent. Atlanta was below us, lights spreading out like stars. There's one more thing, Mara said. Nina Volkoff, the woman in first class. She wasn't just surveillance. She was the one who activated the device remotely. She had the detonator on her phone. If you hadn't gotten off that plane, she would have pressed a button, and you would have died at 30,000 feet, just like they wanted. But I didn't die. No, you didn't. You're alive. And because you trusted that note, because you demanded to get off that plane, we caught all 3 of them. We seized the evidence. We stopped them from trying again. You saved Thomas Ellis's life. You saved your own life. And you helped finish what your mother started 23 years ago. I wiped my eyes, took a deep breath. Thank you for telling me. Go see your mother. Tell her you know. Tell her you're proud of her. Tell her she can rest now. The plane landed. The agents drove me straight to the hospital. Keisha was waiting in the lobby. She ran to me, hugged me so tight I thought my ribs would crack. She's been asking for you, Keisha said. She's been holding on, waiting. We took the elevator to the 4th floor, the cardiac unit. Mama's room was at the end of the hall. I could see it from the elevator. Door partially open, machines beeping. Church ladies crowded in the hallway praying. Sister Dorothy from the choir saw me first. Baby, your mama's been calling your name. Go on in. She needs to see you. I walked in alone. Keisha stayed outside, gave me space. Mama looked so small in that hospital bed, so fragile. Nothing like the strong woman who raised me, who worked 2 jobs, who made sure we never went hungry, even when she did. Her eyes opened when I sat down. She smiled. Vivian, my baby, you made it. I made it, Mama. I took her hand. It was cold, too cold. I'm here. I saw the news, that plane in Dallas, the federal agents. That was you, wasn't it? I nodded, couldn't speak. I'm so sorry, baby. So sorry you got caught up in all this. I tried so hard to keep you safe, to keep you away from it. Tears were rolling down her face. Your father, he died because of me, because of what I knew. And now they tried to kill you too. Mama, I know everything. Mara told me. She looked surprised. Then relieved. Good. I didn't want to die without you knowing the truth. Didn't want you thinking your daddy just had an accident. He was murdered. And I've been living with that guilt for 23 years. It wasn't your fault. You were trying to do the right thing. The right thing cost me everything. Cost you your father. Cost Keisha her childhood. We had to move, change our lives, live in fear, all because I couldn't keep my mouth shut, couldn't look the other way. But you kept the evidence. You gave it to Thomas Ellis. You finished what you started. Mama squeezed my hand, weak but deliberate. I had to. Couldn't let your father's death mean nothing. Couldn't let them win. When Ellis contacted me 5 months ago, asking for help, I knew it was time. Knew I had to give him everything I'd kept hidden all these years. They tried to kill him, Mama. On that same flight. If he hadn't canceled, they would have succeeded. But he did cancel. And you survived. And now they're all going to pay for what they did. Mama's breathing was getting harder. The machines were beeping faster. Promise me something, baby. Promise me you'll be there when Thomas Ellis testifies. Promise me you'll see them all go down. For your daddy, for me, for all of us. I promise, Mama. I promise. She closed her eyes, smiled. Good. That's good. I can rest now. I can finally rest. The machines started alarming. Nurses rushed in. Doctors. Keisha appeared at my side. We stood there holding Mama's hands as her heart finally gave out. As the woman who sacrificed everything for truth and justice took her last breath. The doctor called time of death at 8:42 p.m. I didn't cry, not right away. I just stood there looking at Mama's face. Peaceful now. Finally at peace after 23 years of fear. She was waiting for you, Keisha whispered. She held on until you got here. Until she could tell you the truth. I know. We buried Mama 4 days later. The church was packed, standing room only. The choir sang her favorite hymns. The pastor talked about her strength, her courage, her faith. But he didn't know the half of it. Didn't know what she'd really sacrificed, what she'd really endured. Thomas Ellis came to the funeral, sat in the back, didn't introduce himself. But I saw him, and he saw me, and we both knew. 2 weeks later, I sat in a federal courthouse watching Thomas Ellis testify. Watched him present every piece of evidence Mama had gathered 23 years ago, watched as senators were led away in handcuffs, as judges resigned in disgrace, as corporate executives were indicted for fraud. The media called it the biggest corruption scandal in a generation, said it would reshape American politics for decades. But all I could think about was Mama. About how she'd lived in fear for 23 years. About how she'd lost Daddy. About how she'd finally gotten justice, but it came too late for her to see it. Justice isn't always clean. Sometimes it costs everything. Sometimes the people who fight for what's right don't live to see themselves win. Sometimes victory tastes like grief. I still work as a travel nurse. Still get on planes every other week. But now when I board a flight, I think about that note. About Mara's warning. About how one choice, one moment of trusting my gut saved my life and changed everything. And sometimes when I'm sitting in seat 14C on another flight to another city, I imagine Mama sitting next to me. Proud. Finally at rest. Finally free from the fear that haunted her for so long. She saved me long before that note ever appeared in my lap. She saved me by teaching me to be strong, to be brave, to trust my instincts even when everyone else says I'm wrong. And in the end, I saved her too. Not her life, but her legacy, her truth, her fight. That's what daughters do. We finish what our mothers started, even when it costs us everything. That's the end of this story. If it touched your heart, please leave a like and subscribe. Have you experienced something similar? Share your story in the comments below.